Hello and welcome to another Moog demo library. In today's video, we're going to be exploring Muse, and in particular, we're going to focus in on some of the new features added in the 1.4 firmware update. Specifically, we're going to look at the sequencer and the ways that you can now split the probability behavior between timbres. So for this example, I'm going to be using a patch from Bank 11, patch 3, it's called Flexed, and it has a simple bass sound that's monophonic on the bottom of the keyboard, and a polyphonic electric piano sound that's on the top of the keyboard. To set up, I'm going to go into my sequencer, and I'm going to also go into the More menu for the sequencer and make sure that live record mode is set to Per-Timbre. This is going to make it so that if I have live record mode on, I can't overwrite notes from timbre A when I play timbre B and vice versa. The other thing that I'm going to do is go into this sequence's settings, and I'm going to select a scale. So I'm going to set it to a natural minor with a root of C. And that way, when we're using note probability later on, we're going to make it so that the notes that the sequencer will choose to deviate to will be in the correct scale. So to begin, I'm going to enter a bass line for timbre A, and the way that I'm going to do that is just by holding down the step where I want a note, and I'm going to play that note. You can also do that with chords if you want to. So pretty simple bass line. Let's hear how it sounds. So now what I want to do is actually copy this first half and double the length of the sequence, which is a new feature that we've added in the 1.4 firmware, where now if I hold the copy button down and hit page right, I can copy the first half of my sequence and double it. So now everything that was in steps 1 through 16 is also in steps 17 through 32. And so I can add a little note variation. So let's say on this step where I have an F1 in the first half, I'm going to set that to be a G sharp one. So now let's hear how that sounds. Pretty straightforward bass line. I'm actually going to double the length again. So again, I'm going to hold copy, hit page right. And now I have a 64-step sequence. And the reason that I did that is because I want 64 steps to record timbre B in. So now I'm going to turn split off, and I'm just going to select timbre B so that I can play the full keyboard as I'm entering notes in. Reset the sequencer, I'm going to turn record on, and let's just play in a part for timbre B. Also add some chords. I'm going to turn timbre A up a little bit using the overload knob. I'm going to filter timbre B a little bit more. Also going to sync the delay and add a little bit more. Right now the delay is just affecting timbre B. So now you can hear I have a 64-step pattern playing, and I'm going to go into the probability settings. And you can see that we have some new soft buttons in the probability menu where we can now select to just edit the probability settings for timbre A and timbre B separately. So for timbre A, I actually don't want much deviation, but I am going to make the gate probability around 90%. And that way what's going to happen is sometimes I'll get rests for timbre A, but in general, that sequence is just going to play as is. Oh, and I actually want to make sure that I set that for all steps. So I'm going to turn that to 90. Now I'm going to go over to timbre B. I'm going to leave all steps on, but as you're doing this, just realize that for every single step, all of these settings can be independent. For this example, just for the sake of time, I'm going to apply all the settings to all the steps so it's uniform, but you can really cater this behavior to be exactly how you want it to be. Now for this, I'm going to set my note probability for timbre B around 20%, and then the note range is 12 semitones. So if I put in a C, it could play any note up to the C above it or the C below it. So you have a certain range for where it's allowed to deviate and play new notes. The other thing that I'm going to do is set my gate probability to around 90% also. And then I'm going to turn velocity on for timbre B. And I'm going to set a velocity probability of 50%. And it's allowed to go 50 values above or below whatever velocity setting I recorded in. So we'll just get some notes that are brighter randomly and some that are softer randomly. But we'll get a nice behavior where we get some generative movement from the sequence. So let's hear how it sounds. Actually decrease the gate probability for timbre A, so you get more rests. So go to 80%. And on timbre A, maybe increase the release. So as you can hear with the 1.4 firmware update, we can really add some unique deviating behaviors between timbres in terms of how they react to the probability settings. And this can breathe a lot of life into your sequences where the sequencer is smart enough to meander around what you put in, but still have it make harmonic sense with what you're writing. So there's a lot of fun and interesting ways that you can incorporate this into your composing when you're writing sequences or generating ideas.